10 years after the Beanstalk first tore open the sky, the legend of Jack was supposed to be over. The giants were banished, the magic beans were gone, and the kingdoms below the clouds finally slept in peace. At least that is what the storytellers promised. But legends have a way of growing back, just like beanstalks. In 2026, Jack the Giant Slayer 2 imagines a bold new chapter in that legend, with a fresh cast, a darker tone, and a world that has learned all the wrong lessons from its past. Tom Holland steps in as a new Jack, not the farm boy of old, but a restless young hero haunted by stories of giants and desperate to prove that he's more than just another face in the crowd. Zendaya plays Elara, a runaway royal with her own connection to the forgotten war in the clouds. This is not an official sequel, but a concept that reimagines how a modern Jack the Giant Slayer follow-up could feel. More cinematic, more dangerous, and far more personal. Our story begins in a small border village, built on the ruins of the old Beanstalk's landing site. The stump has turned to stone and iron, a monument and a warning. Children gather around wandering bards to hear the tale of the farm boy Jack, the brave princess, and the giants driven back to their sky kingdom by a magic crown. Over time, those names have blurred into myth. One of those children was Jack, this Jack, who grew up with the same name as the legend and the same nagging feeling that there was more to the story than anyone was telling. Now older, he works as a farmhand on land that barely remembers the war the world once survived. The kingdom has changed since the first film's events. The royal line has modernized the realm, replacing superstition with steel, magic with machines. In the capital, the new rulers have turned the history of the giants into spectacle. Armor forged in the style of giant bones displays in gilded halls, and the ancient stories are sold as theater and propaganda. The crown that once controlled the giants has been lost to time, but its legend lives on in coins, murals, and royal ceremonies. Enter Elara. Zendaya's character is introduced as a mysterious traveler, but we quickly learn she is a princess in exile, daughter of a royal branch that challenged the new regime's use of history as a weapon. Where the public sees giants as monsters, Elara's hidden scrolls hint that the war above the clouds was far more complicated. She believes the magic beans were never fully destroyed, and that something is waking in the sky again. Jack meets Elara when she arrives in his village, disguised under a hood but unable to hide her fierce presence. She seeks the site of the old Beanstalk, convinced there is still power buried there. Jack, tired of hearing jokes about his legendary namesake, wants nothing to do with fairy tales. But when a tremor shakes the ground and the stone monument splits to reveal a strange green glow, he realizes the stories he grew up hearing weren't just bedtime entertainment. They were warnings. From beneath the petrified roots of the old Beanstalk, Elara and Jack uncover a secret chamber, a hidden vault left by the original Jack and Isabel, filled with maps, journals, and one last forbidden relic, a single dormant magic bean sealed in a crystal. In the journals, they learn that the Beanstalk's destruction never ended the giants' hunger. It only trapped them, forcing their rage to build over generations. Elara reveals her true identity and motive. Her family has protected the truth for decades. The giants weren't born evil. They were enslaved and corrupted by the magic crown forged by ancient human kings. When that crown broke, the bond between realms snapped, but the resentment did not. Now strange storms circle the hidden sky kingdom. Something, or someone, is trying to tear open the path again. Jack wants to take the bean straight to the capital, but Elara refuses. She doesn't trust the current rulers, who might use the magic as a weapon. Instead, she proposes a reckless plan. Grow a new beanstalk, climb into the sky, and find the source of the awakening before it crashes back down onto their world. They argue, but the choice is made for them. A lightning-laced storm forms overhead. The ground cracks, and the relic glows hot in Jack's hand. In a desperate attempt to keep it from detonating, Jack hurls the bean into the earth. The world goes silent for a heartbeat. Then the soil erupts. A new beanstalk explodes upward, far thicker, darker, and more twisted than the first. Its vines coil around ancient ruins, tearing stone and metal into the sky. Jack and Elara cling to the massive stalk as it rockets upward, the world below shrinking into a patchwork of clouds and light. This ascent is not a wonder-filled climb. It is a horror. The beanstalk's bark pulses with a faint heartbeat. Its thorns drip with sap that burns like acid. Something has altered the magic, something angry. Above, in the swirling cloud layer, Jack hears a distant rumble that sounds like a roar and a word at the same time. By the time they break through the clouds, they are no longer climbing a plant. They are walking on a jagged, floating bridge of roots, leading toward a fractured sky kingdom. The giant's world is a ruin. What was once a vast, misty landscape of towering fortresses and stone bridges has been torn apart, floating in colossal chunks, drifting through the air. Storms loop endlessly in the distance, trapped in rings. Bones of dead giants lie half-fused into the earth, as if the land itself tried to reclaim them. Here, Jack and Elara discover that they are not the first to return. They find human camps, abandoned expeditions that climbed here in secret years ago, chasing the legends of power and treasure. Scattered among the wreckage are early firearms, strange tools, and banners bearing the crest of the current king. The realm below, while preaching peace, has been quietly exploiting the Sky Kingdom for resources. The first encounter with a giant comes not as a battle, but as a haunting. A lone, elderly giant, scarred and gaunt, watches them from afar. When he finally approaches, he moves slowly, as if every step weighs centuries. Jack reaches for his weapon, but Elara stops him, noticing the giant does not attack. Instead, he lays a massive hand on the ground and traces a symbol into the dust. The same symbol that appeared on the old magic crown. In halting, guttural words, the giant reveals what happened after the first film. Leaderless and freed from the crown's control, the giants turned on one another. Some wanted revenge on humans, others wanted isolation. Their wars shattered the Sky Kingdom. Then years later, human explorers returned, bringing a new kind of magic, machines, explosives, and a hunger for the giants' resources. The last surviving giants now face extinction from both sides. Yet there is something even worse lurking here. In the heart of the floating kingdom stands a twisted throne made of fused metal and bone. On that throne sits the true antagonist, a once human sorcerer-king who ascended here years ago with a stolen fragment of the original crown. Using fragments of old magic and new technology, he has woven himself into the realm's core, becoming a living storm that can command both the beanstalks and the giants' lingering power. This antagonist is never fully human anymore, more a swirling fusion of armor, shadow, and crackling energy. His plan is simple: drag the Sky Kingdom down, merge it with the human world, and rule over the ruin that follows. Jack and Elara are captured and dragged before him. He mocks their belief that the giants were the only monsters in this story. He has been the one sending storms, the one calling up the magic beneath the old beanstalk, hoping someone would plant the last bean and reopen the way. Their arrival completes his design. The middle of the film becomes a moral crucible. Jack and Elara must decide whether to side with the broken giants who once terrorized their world, or risk letting the sorcerer-king reshape both realms with stolen power. Jack's arc is about identity. All his life, he has been chained to another person's story. The original Jack, the giant slayer, the hero in the songs. Up here, faced with a threat greater than any bard's tale, Jack finally admits his fear. He is not the legendary Jack reborn. He is just a young man caught in a story that started long before he was born. Elara's arc is about truth. Her family tried to guard the secret that humans abused the giants long before the First War, that the crown itself was a tool of oppression. Now she must decide whether to expose that truth to save both realms, even if it destroys the heroic image of her own ancestors. In a tense scene, Jack and Elara try to broker peace with a small band of surviving giants, led by the elderly one they met before. These giants have lost everything. They have every reason to hate humans. But when they see the sorcerer-king's throne, built from the bones of their kin and the wreckage of human greed, they realize that their enemy is not an entire species, but a specific cycle of power. The alliance is uneasy. Jack and Elara ride on the shoulders of giants through shattered floating landscapes, dodging bolts of energy and swirling debris as the sorcerer-king begins his final ritual. The new beanstalk below has started to pulse and expand, sending roots down into the human world, ripping open chasms and dragging pieces of the sky realm lower and lower. The stakes become visible, villages crushed, mountains uprooted, the sky tearing like paper. Generations of history, both human and giant, are about to be smashed together into a single, uninhabitable wasteland. The climax mirrors the first film's battle for the castle, but inverted. This time, humans and giants together assault a fortress in the sky, fighting to prevent a siege on the world below. Jack's role is not to slay giants, but to navigate between them. He leads a strike team, himself, Elara, and a handful of daring soldiers who climbed a secondary vine conjured by the sorcerer-king. Through collapsing bridges and gravity-twisted corridors, the giants engage in titanic brawls with monstrous constructs made of stone and storm, serving as living battering rams against the throne's defenses. In a defining scene, Jack reaches the throne room just as the sorcerer-king begins merging fully with the heart of the beanstalk. Roots and cables entwine his body, turning him into a living conduit. Jack cannot possibly overpower him in a straight fight. Instead, he remembers the journals left in the hidden vault, the original Jack's notes about how the crown's magic was bound by symbols of choice. The magic of the giants was always tied to obedience, to forced control. The only way to break it is to offer it a refusal, a deliberate act of defiance. Jack realizes the new beanstalk is listening in its own way for who will command it next. Elara confronts the sorcerer-king with the truth he tried to distort. She reveals his past as a royal advisor who once argued that the giants should be exterminated and their realm plundered, only to be cast out when his methods were deemed too extreme. His plan is not justice, it is vanity and vengeance. As the throne room collapses around them, Jack does the one thing no one expects. He offers the power back. Instead of claiming control over the giants and the stalk, he throws himself into the growing knot of roots at the center of the room, not to command, but to ask. He begs the ancient magic to break the cycle, to end the obedience spell that has chained giants and humans together in violence for centuries. Visually, this moment is a storm of memories. Glimpses of the first crown, of giants marching unwillingly, of human kings drunk on control. The beanstalk shudders. The sorcerer-king tries to force it to his will, but for the first time in ages, the magic has a choice. It chooses release. The beanstalk rejects all masters, violently severing its connection to the throne. The sorcerer-king is ripped free, his power stripped away. A final massive shockwave tears through the sky realm, collapsing the floating islands inward, not downward. The beanstalk begins to wither and crumble, falling apart piece by piece before it can drag the Sky Kingdom fully to Earth. Jack is thrown from the core, caught at the last second by the hand of the elderly giant. Together with Elara, they flee along crumbling platforms, diving into a collapsing tunnel of roots that leads back toward the clouds. The ending is quieter, but not entirely neat. The beanstalk's remains rain down as harmless, glowing dust, drifting over fields and rivers below. The Sky Kingdom, reduced to fragments, slowly drifts further away, the surviving giants choosing exile over domination. For the first time, they are neither prisoners nor conquerors. In the capital, Elara stands before a stunned court and tells the truth. She exposes the hidden expeditions, the exploitation, the origin of the crown, and the sorcerer-king's crimes. Her confession shakes the kingdom, but it also opens the door to a different kind of future, one built on honesty rather than sanitized legends. Jack returns to his village, but he is no longer just the boy named after a story. Children gather around him, asking what the giants were like, whether they were really monsters, whether the beanstalk was as tall as the songs say. Jack does not give them the version that ends with happily ever after. He gives them the messy truth, that sometimes monsters are made, not born, that heroes are not perfect, that the bravest thing you can do is refuse a power you have no right to hold. In the final scene, we see a new monument where the old stone stump once stood. Not a statue of a single hero holding a crown, but a carving of humans and giants standing back to back, facing the horizon. The camera pans up to the sky, where faint, distant shapes move among the clouds. Giants, still watching, still free, their world drifting ever further, but no longer chained in hate. The last line belongs to Jack, told in voiceover as he begins to write in a journal of his own. People used to say the story ended when we cut down the beanstalk. They were wrong. Stories don't end when you cut something down. They end when you finally decide what you'll grow instead.